Welcome to the second build video for the XR pistol. This includes the two-stage trigger as well, so we'll cover that mechanism along with, there have been a couple updates since the last video. So you'll see here there is duct tape and there's window foam that I've got installed already. That's because we're trying to minimize vibration and bumps. So here, that is fitment, making sure that this is nice and snug here when that goes in. So you will want to adjust to make sure for whatever grip module you're using, that's nice and snug. And this window foam is so whenever we pull the trigger and this goes in, that we don't have additional vibration that comes from there. So I'm going to start by building this module and then we'll move through everything else. So I'm going to start by getting this piece. This is called in the Github repo this year. It isn't really one, that's just when I was trying to come up with a name for it, what popped in my head. So I typed it and it's still the name, even though it is not one. So once that spring's in here, I'm going to pull this down and I'll get one of our M3 12mm. I'm going to go ahead and I will put that in here. And I'm only going to tighten that one side to make sure it can't bind and torque and crimp our spring that's in there. And then once the other one's in here, I will run that the whole way, and then I will run our other in the rest of the way. And then I'm going to make sure that's not binding inside at all. So I'll take this, and yep, I don't hear any binding, it moves nice and smooth. So next we're going to get one of our ball bearings, and we're going to get one of our 25mm springs, then another ball bearing, and then we will get our set screw. And I'm going to change my end I have on here over to the proper one for the set screw. I'll put that on the end here. And so the first time when you run this through, you're going to want to run that a bit deeper, just so that it will put some threads through all this plastic. So you'd run in that there. If you want a nice light trigger, you're just barely going to bury that in there. And then here, when we get a press, got our real nice clean brake and our reset. So that is what we were looking for. We've got our little slot here for our Velcro to go through. So I'm going to set that out of the way. And now we are going to go and assemble the fire control group. You'll see that I have some duct tape on both sides here. That is to make sure that we have a nice snug fit on the sides here. So add whatever amount you need to make sure that there's no play, because extra vibrations are the enemy to everything we're doing with this. I'm going to get the controller retaining part right here, and I will get a M3x30 and one of our M3 nuts, and I will just thread that on here and feed that in from the bottom. Once that is in, I'll unscrew this, hold that in place with my finger, and we will run that in from the top. There we go. Now that we have that, I'm going to get the trigger block, and I'm going to grab our M3x60. I'm also going to grab just anything shorter because I want to pre-thread our hole right here. I'll run this until it binds. And once it binds, there we go. Then I'll unscrew it. And I have one of the M3x16s that's right here. That one actually goes right here, so I will go ahead and just run that in. I'm going to run that just before it starts to poke out. This is a screw that we can adjust to change when the break happens on the controller. So the break will happen at the same time always on here, but if we need to change when that happens in software, we can move the screw to make that happen. So here is my M3x60. I'm going to run that through, and then I'm going to get my really long M3. I'm going to get that there, and then line this hole up and push that back all the way to here so that I can drive that in this way. doing this, I am just going to go until that bottoms out. Okay, there we go. Now that I have that, I'm going to get this, and that needs the heavier of our two springs here. So this is our 0.8. Get that. Cap right here and push this down a little bit. And then I'm going to just lift the headset up and find where that goes right here. Now I'm going to run this all the way in. And so we want this backed off enough that the tightness doesn't add any friction. We're going to also end up doing the same thing on the other side. I'm going to get one of my 25mm strings, should be the last one we have left here, feed that into here, and then I am going to go get an M3x16 and drag that in. The same thing, make sure I back it out to the point that it's not adding any friction to the system. Now that we have that, we have our one that goes right above here. So now I'm going to get a 16. And same thing as with everywhere else. I will bring this in, back it off to make sure it's not adding friction, and that is our lever to activate that. Now I will go ahead and I'll get my trigger. The flat side faces over this way. And I want to find our M4 screw. This was the M4x16. And that is a button head. So our same driver will work on here. And we can verify trigger does move that correctly. Now we're going to get this and this. So before, when I'm in the cleanup phase here, I always check to make sure that there's no binding there. If there is binding, you can pull this off and just run like a drill bit through there, or you could run this up and down a little bit. You want to make sure that there's no friction that impedes this motion. I'm going to go get my only M2 that's in here now, and I'll go ahead and push that down so this is able to thread in a hole in that piece. There we go. Looking up so I can see. There we go. And let's just run that. Okay. And we can test that with this. No friction, it is happy. So now that we are up to here, we are going to get our long threaded screw. This had been, what was this again? Yeah, this was the M3x25. This is going to run through over here. And this is our over travel stop. And it is going to get our little rubber pad type thing on it as well. There we go, now that it is poking out. So this is our piece that's printed out of TPU. And this is so the trigger connector stops when we want it to. So if you want to make sure it's not sloppy with over travel, you're able to move this up some, and then this absorbs the vibration from that, so it doesn't throw your controller tracking off. Inside here, we are going to put our 0.6 string, and then we're going to get our piece that goes here. So that goes in like this now, all the way up to snap in. I'll get an M3 nut and another one of our 30mm. This M3 is going to go in like this, all the way to the top. And then here to attach that. And there we go, nice and snug. So now you can see here, we've got our brake, we've got our stop right there, and so there's that extra little bit of space after the brake here. So by moving this up a tiny little bit, you can take care of that so that there's not over travel to get faster follow-up shots. Now we have this. So we are going to get our M4 screw, again on the one that we had like this, and we will run this up through the slide. With this, we tuck that underneath here, up like this, and now there's our slide rack. I'm going to get, these were the by 24 or 25 button heads. I'm going to get 2 more of these nuts, and I'm going to place a nut here. Place a nut up here. You could, of course, use blue Loctite here as well. I haven't yet had any of these work themselves out without that there, but it wouldn't be a bad idea. And there we go, nothing is binding, so that was good. Now we have our weapon light. So weapon light from over here, an activation switch goes right there. Let's go on through. You want to try and have an equilibrium with equal spacing on both sides, because this actually threads into the switch and not the body so much. And there we go. That moves without binding. I'm going to get an M3 and another M3 by 30. This gets placed into here. This will slide back all the way there. Oop, and I just pushed the nut out. Now this will tighten into there. This will go up in here. And now let's function test our pistol. So I'm going to get the controller, press down on here, so we've got some extra room to get that in. And now I'm going to use the magazine and verify function. So this switch right here comes up when your magazine goes in. Take the magazine out and it presses there. Slide rack, pull back here, let go. See, that'll come down, and that should pop back. If that doesn't pop back, this part of your magazine right up here is too high. So when you seal that, just take that to a belt sander or something, bring that down a little bit, make sure that this is nice and smooth there. You'll see our trigger here. We've got this set really light, so first stage comes up to here, our brakes right there, and then our resets right here, and then back to up. And if you want higher brake weight, we will go ahead and get this up to our set screw, tighten this to increase your brake weight. So now pull the trigger, stage 1, reset. So you hear all the different stages there. And for our weapon light, right there. So there's all of our functions. So as we run through, we now are ready to go and use this for simulation.